A lot has happened to the St. Louis Blues in the past couple of days. Who says an off season is boring? Well, in hockey, it's definitely not. A lot to talk about in today's episode of Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues. Here, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's episode, I will be talking more about Drew Bannister staying as head coach of the St. Louis Blues and saying goodbye to that interim title. I will also be talking about Kevin Hayes and grading him. And by the way, we're really lucky to have Binnington. So a lot to discuss on today's episode. Before I dive into more details about Coach Bannister, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Hello, my friends. How are you? I am done vacation mode. I am very red. I just got off a plane and I had to film my episode, so do not mind me today. But there is so much to talk about. First, I know I said I'm going to talk about Bannister, but I was watching the whole entire 20-minute video on the NHL channel of Gary Bettman explaining how the draft lottery works. And I don't think I've ever been more confused in my life because I know how it works. But when he was explaining it, I don't know if anybody else watched it, I just felt like I was about to fall asleep. So now that I am aware, nothing changed in the draft, knowing that Utah didn't get the number one overall pick does make me feel a little bit better in the fact that it's not rigged, even though I still think it is rigged. I know that there is a very slim chance that the Blues could have moved, and I understand that. But hey, in life, you never know. But no, they're definitely locked to that 16th overall pick, which I kind of figured was going to happen. So anywho, Drew Bannister will be staying as head coach of the St. Louis Blues. When I talked about this last year, I pulled a Kevin Weeks. I was in the pool and I got the notification. So I did the video in the pool and it was kind of funny. But the reason why I want to talk more about this is because I think yesterday I did mention I had confusion. And I think that's a valid thing. I think that as a fan, you can express how you feel, and sometimes opinions and feelings change. I think the reason why I felt confused was because of the timeline of everything, not necessarily how Drew Bannister was as a coach. It was more so, okay, well, if Doug liked Drew so much and wanted to name him as head coach of the St. Louis Blues, then why didn't he just do it at the end of the season? Why was there about a 3-week period where, nothing was being said? That to me was the thing that confused me because I genuinely thought that maybe a guy like Bryn Moore would have eventually become the coach of the Blues. I thought that maybe, just maybe, there was a candidate that Doug Armstrong liked that had a team that was actively playing in the NHL playoffs. And I feel like that's a very normal thing to think, by the way. I don't think that came from a place of being naive. I think this came from a place of being realistic that there's multiple reports, and it's true what Doug said, that he was hoping by June 1st or the NHL draft. The NHL draft is the 28th, 29th. But June 1st, it's still a long ways away. It's 3 weeks away. So I kind of figured, oh, well, maybe if a team gets eliminated from the play, I've come up with all these scenarios that could be like the timeline. And the timeline to me just made it seem like it was somebody involved with one of the active teams in the playoffs, but it wasn't. I hope that can clarify my confusion. It had nothing to do with how Coach Bannister was as a coach this season. It has nothing to do with his potential of what he's going to do as being the head coach of the Blues. It has everything to do with Doug Armstrong's timeline that he publicly stated, and my confusion that way. Do I think that Bannister is going to be a good coach? Yes. I don't see this team being mediocre, but I also don't see them being superstars. I can see them getting into the playoffs. I was watching the Pat McAfee show today, actually, and PK Subban, I love him. He's on the ESPN broadcast, former player, but he said something really interesting about the NHL playoffs. And he said, in the past, teams could just get in that maybe weren't so great because the league wasn't as strong. But in these days, all 16 teams, for the most part, have to be elite teams where they have to have a good 82 game season and can't slack off. Now, you might say, Hale, that's a very basic and generic statement, but it stuck with me because the Blues were the best worst team. If you put the Blues in the East, they would have been in the playoffs. Maybe they would have been eliminated right away, but they would have been in the playoffs. The reason why I even mention this is because despite the fact that the Blues ended their season with 92 points, would have been 92 or 93, would have been in the playoffs if they were in the East, it still wasn't enough. And I think that Drew Bannister now has a full season to prepare, a full season to get ready to make this team a playoff contending team again. Because let's face it, every season, at least in my eyes, the Blues are a playoff contending team. Because I think highly of them, and I think that, anything is possible. I think that more so than ever that Drew Bannister is going to have a little bit less pressure on him due to the fact that we know that he's capable of being a good coach. We saw how the team responded to him when he got brought in. We saw really good things, improve. And do I want to say the defense got better? I mean, it did get better, but sometimes looked like Swiss cheese. But I think the reason why there's going to be less pressure put on Bannister is because the pressure is actually going to be on Doug Armstrong. And that is because of free agency. You have the draft, you have, trades, extensions, all of that. Again, don't forget that they want to extend Pavel Buchnevich, and it's kind of up to him if he wants to accept it or not. So there is so much going on with this hockey team that truly falls on one person, and that is Dougie A. Do I think that Bannister is going to have a lot of pressure on him? Sure. I mean, you're going to be expected to get a team into the playoffs. Like, you have that kind of pressure. I feel like that's very normal. But let's go say, hypothetically, and I doubt this will happen, nothing gets done this offseason, kind of like last year, I don't think then the team will make it to the playoffs. I don't think with the talent that is actively on this team will be strong enough to go to the playoffs. I think, and I've been through the whole team, right? I've been through naming players that I think are better than others. I'll put that nicely. But I couldn't tell you who the weakest link is. And I'm not going to do that on this podcast. What I am going to say is they need depth, right? They need a good two-way defender. They need a guy that you can put with Parayko. You need strength on defense. You need more power play specialists. You need PK specialists. You need specialists. And that's the problem with the Blues right now, is that they kind of are just staying afloat. And, it's interesting. When it comes to special teams, you look at the playoffs now. I know you're all watching the playoffs. Look at the Rangers' power play and see how strong that power play is. It is everything the Blues are not. You want to talk about a couple games? Who lost? No, it was the Rangers that beat the Canes. Yes, I am talking about the right power play. As soon as the Rangers went on the power play, boom, instantly able to score in a minute. And I'm not saying that I expect the Blues to be that way because it's going to take a lot of talent and work. But it would be nice for them to work on the power play to even give them that opportunity. So I think that with Drew Bannister getting back to goals, expectations, I think it's just to continuously improve on all of the things that the Blues struggled with, because there was quite a few things. And I think that Drew Bannister is the right guy. I think that if there was another candidate that Doug Armstrong really believed in, he would pursue him. I do. I think that. I don't think that Doug is a bad GM. I think that sometimes he makes some decisions I don't agree with. But he has to give Drew Bannister a shot. Give him a shot at coaching this team for the entirety of the season and then make a decision. But it was too much pressure to put all of that on him now. It just seemed a little unfair, him coming in December and then all of a sudden kicking him out. So, I know it's happened, but I'm just happy that he gets a shot. So that's my more positive take. I want to tell you about my friends over at Game Time. So Game Time is an authorized ticket marketing place for all the different major sporting events. And also you can get tickets for so many more things like comedy shows, concerts, and they always, always, always have deals for your event. That is right. Game Time has the last minute tickets, also flash deals and zone deals, and it's always easy to find. Game Time literally prioritizes last minute deals. So you can save over 60%, which is actually an insane amount of money to be saving because usually companies try to make you spend like an extra $60 on fees. Luckily, though, Game Time does not do that whatsoever. So one thing I love about Game Time, I always say this because I'm only 5'2", even though I say I'm like 5'3". From no matter where I want to sit on the app, because it is an app, you can see exactly like your view. So if it's a view that may not be the best view, if someone falls in front of you, you might be like, okay, I'm going to go move. And then boom, Game Time lets you see that. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets, especially those NBA playoff tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It is time to grade the birthday boy. Yes, I waited until it was his birthday to grade him, but it is Kevin Hayes. So yes, today is Kevin Hayes' birthday. He is 32 years old. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. If you Google Kevin Hayes' name, because I just wanted to see how old he was, the first thing that comes up is one of my videos from my podcast talking about it. Kevin Hayes. Subscribe to Lock on Blue. Oh my gosh, wait, Blues fam. Did I tell you that we're at 900 subscribers officially today? So exciting. Let's go hit 1,000. Let's get 100 more before I head out to the draft because that'd be kind of a cool milestone to get. And then, I'm going to the draft, so that'd be cool. Yep, so the 32-year-old, which is actually insane. But let's talk about how he did this season. So he played 79 games. So if we had the couple games that he didn't play, those 3, he was healthy scratched. So he had 13 goals, 16 assists, 29 points total. And he was +0 for plus and minus. So not bad. But let's talk about how he did this year versus maybe some of the past seasons and if we should be concerned. Well, last season, he was in Philadelphia. And, oh man, what a season. So he played 81 games that season with 18 goals and 36 assists and 54 points. And he was -22. The one thing I will say when it comes to Kevin Hayes' points, he usually stays in the low 30s. He's been in the low 40s, mid 40s. But last season in Philadelphia, he had his most points ever. And this season, he only had 29, which is actually his lowest amount of points ever. So you can really go from best season ever for yourself and then to the not so best. When I want to give Kevin Hayes a grade, I'm going to be kind and give him a C, a flat out C. I don't think that he had the best season, but I also don't think he had the worst season. I think that people are really hard on Hayes. I think Hayes is an all right player, okay? He had a lot of good moments for him this year. I remember when he scored that goal against the Flyers, his former team, and it was his first goal. He was like on a very long streak without scoring any goals. Very long. I forgot how much it was actually at the top of my head. So that was a cool moment for Hayes. I mean, he has had some clutch moments. He went on a little bit of a heater at one point. But I think for Kevin Hayes, next season, and again, it's all about shuffling, your lines. they need to just change it up. I always said that he played better as a winger than he did as a center. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, Hale, Hayes is a center. I don't really care. If you're doing better in another position, be in that position. At the end of the day, it's not about if a player, has always been in one position versus another. It is how can we use this player to get this team to win? Kevin Hayes is like a $7 million player that you're getting for half of that money because the Flyers retained half of his salary. Like, you're getting a good deal. Now, do I think that he is worth that amount of money? No. Very few players are, to be honest. And it's not just on Kevin Hayes. It's just a general statement. Very few players in this league are worth that much money. But it does go to show that he has value. And value means something. He's been in this game for quite a while. I mean, I believe that he was drafted number 10 to the Blackhawks. I mean, screw you, Chicago, but like still. And Chicago. I hate the Blackhawks. But it just goes to show that he has been in this league for quite a long period of time. I mean, he was with the Jets for, I want to say it was like a season. He was with Winnipeg. But he was 24th overall. My bad, in 2010. But the point that I am trying to make is that Hayes has been in this league for quite some time now, during his first season in 2014. So, yeah, like 10 years, honestly, coming up right now. So, yeah, it's been a lot of hockey. I mean, obviously, the elephant in the room is he's gone through some really tough things in his personal life, and he hasn't played the same since. And I feel like sometimes in life when things happen, you got to give sometimes people the benefit of the doubt. But I do think he's a good guy off the ice. I think that, just like anybody, you have ups, you have downs. And hopefully next season will be more consistent for him and he'll be able to do more. But I don't think he's a bad third line guy. I don't. And I really just want everyone to take a breath, relax, and just remember that the Blues are not paying all of that money for him. And for what it's worth, he is doing fine. So I'm giving him a C. And happy birthday, Kevin Hayes. Okay. Now that we're done bashing on Kevin Hayes, because I don't like giving people grades below like an A, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there is just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock, and there's so much to get, like unique stickers that you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like Digging for Treasure or Robot Machines. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover at Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. So when it comes to Jordan Binnington, I wanted to talk about him. I was thinking about how we did yesterday, right? Canada, the exhibition game. Well, I can't even say it. He is just so phenomenal in net. And I just want to take a moment to say, I feel confident in this team because of him. The Blues have a top 5 NHL goalie in this league at this current moment in time. I'm watching the playoffs, okay? And I know I keep on saying that, but I am. And, I see guys like Swayman for the Bruins, Bobrovsky, Panthers, Ottinger, Stars. I'm seeing all these goalies, and I'm thinking to myself, Jordan Binnington. Yeah, if he had the right defense, he would be listed with all these guys as well. Shesterkin for the Rangers, and they have Quick as his backup. It's crazy, but Yeah, no, I feel like Binnington just got the ultimate and it's not disrespect, but it was just the ultimate plate of bad luck handed to him. Because when you have a defense that didn't do much defending sometimes, it was a lot of pressure on Binnington, and that's a lot of pressure to put on a guy to win you all these games. I think, though, when the Blues do get a stronger defense, Binnington's name will be talked about more. I think that this was the first season where we saw him not be as emotional, which was a huge improvement. I think there's a lot of positives when it does come to Binnington. But the reason I wanted to mention that is I love watching him play the game of hockey. And, a shutout win, phenomenal, happy for him. But I also think, too, that the Blues are the only team, maybe you can make the argument for the Bruins, actually, and the Rangers, but they're definitely the only team that are not in the playoffs. So out of the 16 teams that have the best goalie, Tatum, that I don't have to worry about drafting a goalie. Why would you draft a goalie? The Blues are fine. Do not worry about it. Worry about a position called defense, okay? And then get back to me. I will be having so many episodes, by the way, on the draft, since I will be attending in person. So make sure to subscribe for that. Also, my everydayers, if you are still here, I was thinking about doing something special on the anniversary of when we won the cup. We went Blue Day at a place called Jack's here in Philadelphia. So I'm going to try to work on something for that. But I am so excited because recapping our playoff run when we won the cup, our cup run, brings me the most joy. So last year, I actually just began the podcast like 2 days before. No, I think it was like 1 day before. This year, I have a whole thing planned out for you. So get ready, St. Louis. It's going to be a fun time. All right, I will talk to you later. And like always, let's go Blues.